We have lots of news to talk about here today, including Matvei Michkov appears ready to make the jump to North America and join the Philadelphia Flyers. We have another addition to the Maple Leafs coaching staff. Another NHL veteran has announced his retirement. Lots of UFA rumors and some trade rumors as well. We've heard lots about the Bruins and the Sens. We've heard lots about the Flyers and the Sens. What if those two scenarios are connected and becomes a three-team deal? We'll discuss that possibility coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to talk about here today. Lots of rumors, speculation. We're into that silly season here. Of course, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final goes tomorrow night, and then we'll be done with the games and on to the real busy part of the offseason. This week is going to be pretty crazy. We've got NHL awards later this week. We got the draft on Friday night and Saturday, and then of course free agency will begin on July 1. So lots of content going to be coming your way, lots of activity and lots of news to talk about. Let's get started first, though, today with the news that NHL veteran Jerard Brassard has confirmed that he is announcing his NHL retirement. We kind of suspected this because he did not play this past year. He did make a return to his hometown Ottawa Senators, which was his second stint with the Sens 2 seasons back. And unfortunately, that season ended a little bit early towards the end of the year. He had a pretty gruesome leg injury. So I think that took a lot out of him, and certainly a lot of people suspected that might be the end. And indeed it is. I mean, he's the 2006 number 5 overall pick. Had a heck of a career, over 1,000 games, well over 500 points, long tenure with the Blue Jackets, with the Rangers, where he earned the nickname Big Game Brass, where he was quite a consummate playoff performer. A couple of runs with the Senators, including some big games there as well during their 2017 run to the Eastern Conference Final. He did make appearances for a season or two with a bunch of other teams, Pittsburgh, Florida, Edmonton, Arizona. He bounced around Philly there a bit as well. Bounced around for a couple of years there with a bunch of teams. But at the end of the day, Jerard Brassard, I think it's a lot to be proud of. Had a heck of a career, and I certainly like to congratulate him on that and wish him all the best in retirement. More news today in Toronto. They've made their final addition to their coaching staff. As we've mentioned a couple of times here on the channel, there's been a lot of speculation that former NHL player and current coach, or was a current coach at least, with the Calgary Flames, Mark Savard, was likely going to be joining Craig Berube's staff. We had seen a couple weeks back that he had officially mutually agreed to part ways with the Calgary Flames, ending his tenure there. And then we've been kind of waiting for this next announcement to confirm that he was joining Berube in the Leafs. There was also some speculation that for any reason that didn't work out, he might have an opportunity to go back to the OHL as a head coach, where he was for a few years in Windsor, and had quite an impact on a lot of players. I know, like Wyatt Johnson of the Dallas Stars was one of his top people and top young guys that he was working with when he was coaching there. But Savard officially lands in Toronto. I guess the thing that they were kind of waiting on was to determine the future of Guy Boucher, which a few days back they did confirm he wasn't going to be returning. So Savard officially gets his spot. He'll work with the power play. So he'll join, of course, Van Ryn, Lambert, and Berube on the bench. And, of course, goalie coach Curtis Sanford and the remaining staff there will be intact as well. So a good hire by the Leafs. A very well experienced offensively, very offensively gifted player. One of the best passers of his time in the NHL. Terrific player. So hopefully he can have a good positive impact on the power play. Also have a signing today in the Boston Bruins organization. Depth defenseman Ian Mitchell. He gets a 1-year, 2-way contract, $775,000. He'll mostly play at the American Hockey League level, but does have a bit of experience and can be a call-up if need be. We've also learned today that Penguins forward Reilly Smith, who is very likely to be traded this year and is also a pending unrestricted free agent. But Reilly Smith has changed agents. He's now repped by CAA and Pat Brisson, who also, he's also arguably the biggest agent in hockey, and has currently repped several Penguins players. So I suspect that'll be to help with his next contract, and wouldn't be shocking if he has any involvement in helping him find his next team and maybe facilitate a trade. I wonder if we'll if Kyle Dubas has any trouble trading Smith, if he'll give him permission to kind of help facilitate that. Some UFA rumors today. We got from a variety of places. Some of it's from Elliot Friedman from the latest 32 Thoughts podcast, which most of it actually comes from, and a few others as well. But the New Jersey Devils, according to Friedman, are one of the teams that are expected to pursue current Canes defenseman Brett Pesce in free agency, assuming that the Canes don't reach a deal with Pesce before July 1 and he actually becomes available on the market. New Jersey's a team expected to pursue him. I do wonder if they do that, and if for any reason they were successful, that's going to likely cause other movements. If you look at the right side of their defense, they're hoping to have a healthy Dougie Hamilton this year. Of course, they got John Marino, who they acquired last year, who was a good fit. And they got a guy like Nemec, who's looking for more opportunity. They got Seamus Casey, who just came out of college and signed to play. On their left side, they've got Siegenthaler, they've got Hughes. They're pretty well stacked on the blue line, I think, when they're all healthy. So, Pesce would be an upgrade, but I wonder if they might consider moving maybe Marino. Or would they move Nemec? I kind of wondered with the Jets youngster Rutger McGroarty becoming available. There's been some talk about the Devils maybe being one of the teams that would have interest in him. Obviously, former college teammate with some of the guys like Casey. I wonder if they'd offer Nemec. That might be too high of a price. Nemec's number 2 overall pick. McGroarty was 15 or 16th overall. So, I'm not sure how the value compares, but I do wonder if they would do that. At the same time, you don't really want to move a former number 2 overall pick like that, but at the same time, bringing in Pesce, you get Hamilton, you get Marino, or is it Marino that goes after 1 year? Hard to say, but the Devils would have a plethora of defensemen if they're successful in landing Pesce. We're curious to see how they go in that adventure. The Capitals, according to Friedman, of course, they made the big trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're not done, according to Elliott, saying that he's been told that we should expect them to be very, very busy and expect plenty of other movement within that organization. Like I said before, we know that they're not going to have Nicholas Backstrom this year, so they got his contract for long-term injury reserve. There's a lot of talk and speculation that even though TJ Oshie has 1 more year in his contract, that he very well may not play and could be an LTIR candidate as well. He's had a lot of back issues, and I know at the end of last year when they were beaten out of the playoffs this spring, he said, because he was asked about playing next year, and he said, to be honest, he'd love to, but he only wants to play if he can be guaranteed from his doctors that he's going to not have the back issues if he can get it resolved. And, he's not going in and out of the lineup and, dealing with so much pain and discomfort throughout the season, because it's a lot on him and it's hard on the teammates, hard on the coaching staff when he can't be relied upon and, being in and out a lot. So he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't think it's right for him or the team. So, they could have a big LTIR availability to possibly use. So we'll see. I suspect we'll see other movement within the D-core and the forward group. Goaltending seems to be, I think, relatively secured. We know Charlie Lindgren's going to get an opportunity to be the starter, and I suspect Hunter Shepard, who's put in a fair bit of time in the minors and played very well, mind you, and could be a Calder Cup champion here soon, will be given every opportunity for that number 2 spot backup role in the NHL next year. The Rangers, according to many, including Elliot Friedman, are interested not only in Patrick Kane, who I talked about before, but so Kane to return to the Rangers is definitely something that appears to be mutual interest, we could say, because we've heard that Kane would be interested in going back. Feels like he has unfinished business after being not anywhere close to 100% the first time through and didn't be able to give it his all and his best. But apparently they also, according to Elliot Friedman, should have interest in Tyler Toffoli as well. Now, I don't know if they can get Kane and Toffoli. I don't know if they can swing that cap-wise without making some other trades. But we'll see. He also mentions the Vancouver Canucks, who, of course, we know are making a major push for Jake Gensel. If for any reason that Gensel signing doesn't happen for Vancouver, if they don't land him, that Toffoli back to Vancouver for a second stint would be like their plan B. So we'll see. Obviously, getting plan Bs in place can be challenging because obviously other teams are going to be maybe looking at him as a plan A. And if he's got a good chance with a good contract he likes, then that might be something to look at. So obviously the Rangers and the Canucks linked to Toffoli. I've heard some mention maybe return to the LA Kings too. So obviously a lot of teams are familiar with him. He has bounced around a lot. But he's a good player, a good veteran, still producing at a good level, and I've no doubt he's probably looking for like a 3 or 4 year contract, probably in that $5+ million range. So I suspect that he's going to be a valuable signing for somebody, and there will be indeed lots of interest. As I mentioned, one of the biggest stories, if not definitely the biggest story today, one of the biggest stories here recently is we got word through enough sources, enough reporters that cover the Flyers that Matvei Michkov is getting his release from the KHL team, and he's on his way and should be hopefully announced probably the next day or two that he's coming and joining the Philadelphia Flyers. It's believed that Michkov's release from the KHL club will be likely made official tomorrow on Monday, and then after that, he can sign his entry-level contract with the Flyers. I don't know how quickly they'll get that announced, but I suspect that it'll be a little bit before he can make it. Like there's some time about development camp, things like that in Philly. He's going to need a work visa and all that to get through. So that's going to take a little bit of time. So he may not be able to appear at some of the summer stuff. Hard to say, but that's really not a major factor here. At the end of the day, they went into this draft pick thinking that they might have to wait 3 years, and they decided that he was a good enough player that they're willing to take that chance and they're willing to take on that risk, and they did it. And now we're only a year removed, and here we are. Michkov wants to come to the NHL and is working to make that happen. Now, of course, there is some financial compensation that has to go to the KHL club, but the Flyers can't have any part of that. I seen a speculation on Twitter or an X earlier that the Flyers were paying the KHL club like $1 million or something, but like they realistically can't do that. But yeah, there is confirmation for enough people that I think we can believe it's happening. So Matvei Michkov joining the Flyers and will be in their lineup next season this fall. That's absolutely huge news. That just goes to show you, as I talked about with the Rutger McGroarty scenario yesterday, like you hear a lot about the Russian factor and will he come over and, how long do we have to wait and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you look at the history of the last, not only recent, but go back 5, 10, 15 years, it's always the ones that typically hold out and don't sign are almost always American-born NCAA players. They're the ones that hold out the most and pull these stunts where they won't sign and they want to get moved to another team. Like I listed off a bunch of them in another video. Like it's recently happened, of course, with Cutter Gauthier. Didn't want to sign with the Flyers, got moved to the Ducks. We've seen Jimmy Vesey do it. We've seen Kevin Hayes do it. We've seen Adam Fox do it. And that's just a few. Blake Wheeler back even before that. It's happened a number of times. So I think this is going to not only have a big impact positively on the Flyers getting him in their lineup, but it's going to have a huge impact, I think, on top prospect of the 24 draft, Ivan Demidov. Many view him as being the second best prospect in the draft, but many think that he was going to slip down to at least 5 to Montreal, maybe lower, depending on the time. Over the last probably 2 or 3 months, I've seen him ranked on a wide scale all over the place. And a lot of the reasoning for his wide range of rankings is because of where he's from. And there was some concern over his size. Of course, he recently made an appearance in Florida with the Gold Star little draft combine, if you will, to set up that Dan Milstein put together. He's bigger and stronger than a lot of people thought. He made it known that he would like to come to North America after next season, after his contract expires, that he doesn't want to extend. He wants to make the jump to the NHL. He speaks good English. There's another, thing. So integrating him into your team and the culture, easier. So Demidov's stock just took a skyrocket, and now we get this news on Michkov. It's just going to make teams go maybe we're overthinking this. If we really like the player and we really think he's the best available and he's a good fit with our club, what are we doing here? So I suspect Demidov is likely going to go Well, the highest he'd go would be 2. Some Chicago people think that they're going to take him now. For the longest time, we've heard they've been pretty much sold on taking Levshunov, the top right shot defenseman, who many project to be a star right-handed defenseman. That's hard to find as well. It is tough to pass that up. So we'll see, but at the same time, Demidov would be real exciting to watch play with Connor Bedard. And then after them, you get the Ducks, then you get the Jackets, the Habs. For the longest time, it was like he's going to Montreal. They let Michkov go last year. They didn't take him. They're probably regretting it now. They're not going to let that happen with Demidov. But now I don't think that it's going to be available for them to get Demidov. I'd be surprised if he makes it to 5 at this point. But great news for the Flyers. Great news for fans of Demidov and whoever selects them this year, I think. So good on Philly for doing all the work they've done to Danny Briere to make that happen. Now, as I mentioned, we've got some trade talk to take a look at here as well. We've heard a lot about the Sens and the Bruins working on an Allmark trade. We've heard a lot. It's kind of simmered down a little bit, but for a couple of days there was Sens and Flyers are cooking something up, and it would involve Philly moving up. That Philly really wants to get into the top 10. I kind of wonder at this point if Philly is trying to make a push to see if they can get Demidov. After how positively everything has worked out with Michkov, I wonder, clearly there's a player they really like that they want, that they're trying to move up into the top 10. And so far that target has been with Ottawa at 7 to work out a trade where there's other assets involved, but they swap picks. Ottawa seems content to move back if they get the right deal. I think it's in their best interest. They're definitely going to probably take one of the top D, and moving from 7 and 12, I think they can still get a really good D. The D that they have their eye on may change, but there's probably 3 or 4 of them between Zeev Bulium, Zane Parak, Sam Dickinson, even Carter Yakimchuk as well, another real good one too. Right-handed, big guy, 30-goal scoring junior. So there's lots there to like. So we'll see what happens. But could all these scenarios that we see between them, Flyers, Sens, Bruins, Sens, what if they're all connected? What if this turns into a 3-team deal? Because from my understanding, both of these teams want Jakob Chychrun. And he's been linked in both of these discussions. We keep hearing about the Allmark going to the Sens. That right now, Allmark willing to go to Ottawa. He's willing to waive. He's willing to sign an extension. But they'd have to obviously work out the full trade details, which I don't know that they've done that yet. And obviously they need to work out his contract extension, which I don't believe that's fully done, but I think they've had some discussions around what it would look like. In Philly, we don't know the full parameters, just that they want to move up in the draft and that there was other pieces involved, including a defenseman. So, I wonder if this could turn into a 3-team trade. We know the Bruins really want center depth, and improve their position at the center ice position. Now, we also learned, which I haven't really talked about on camera yet, but if you've been listening to Elliot Friedman in his 32 Thoughts podcast, he talked about the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and that obviously he ended up going to the Washington Capitals, but there's 2 other teams that he was told were in the mix and that were willing to take Dubois. And he believes they're Boston and Montreal. Now, Dubois has been linked to Montreal forever. Obviously, the trade that Washington gave him was one that they preferred. That's where it happened. But for him to say that he's very confident, he can't confirm it 100%, but very confident the Bruins were in there because they really want to improve their center depth. If they're willing to take Pierre-Luc Dubois, would they not be willing to take Sean Couturier? We know Couturier had some frustrating times with Torts last year. We know he changed agents as well. I do wonder. I mean, I wouldn't have put more thought into Couturier getting moved until all these talks between the Flyers and Sens, Bruins, Sens, it just keeps going. So what if the 3-team trade ended up getting now there could be other picks involved, other pieces, but what if the 3 main pieces are Allmark, Chychrun, and Couturier? What if Couturier goes to Boston, Allmark goes to Ottawa, and Chychrun goes to Philly? Now, you could also include Philly and Ottawa swapping picks. Okay, Ottawa's obviously going to want something, an incentive. They're going to be paid something to move back. Hard to say what that could be. It could be Morgan Frost. It could be another piece that the Flyers have. Maybe it's more picks, something along those lines. For the money to work on Boston's side, maybe they also include a guy like Frederic. If they're moving out Ullmark and Frederic, that'll help with the money on Couturier. Maybe Philly eats a little bit of Couturier's contract, not a lot, but they could eat a little bit of it to make it more valuable. I just can't help but wonder if that could work out. I mean, we've also heard that the Bruins are linked to Elias Lindholm in free agency, and that could be a play. Now, this could all turn out to be, for Ullmark, I honestly think if it's a straight-up deal, Ottawa and Boston only, I don't know that Chychrun's involved, to be completely honest. I honestly think a first-round pick would be sufficient. If you look at what the Markstrom deal generated, if they give them, because they hold the Bruins' first-round pick, who they got from Detroit in the DeBrincat deal, giving them their first round pick back would be great. I honestly think that's maybe a prospect. Based on the other returns we've seen for goalies, I don't know that the Bruins would get Chychrun out of Ottawa for Ullmark. They're going to need the cap space to do other things, clearly. The blue line is, it's not bad, though, to be honest. You've got McAvoy, you've got Carlo, you've got Lindholm, you've got Mason Lohrei. Do you really need another guy like Chychrun? I mean, as much as he's a good player, I think you really like Mason Lohrei and you want to give him more opportunity. Are you going to want to bring in Chychrun and extend him? I don't know that he makes the most sense for Boston. I think he would make more sense for Philly. So, again, that's just my... there's no NHL insider right now saying that this is being discussed. But we've heard a lot about Ullmark in Ottawa. We've heard a lot about Chychrun in Boston, Chychrun in Philly. Philly and Ottawa swapping picks. Just makes me wonder with all these conversations going on, are they all connected? And maybe we'll learn that. They would give Boston a good two-way center. Ottawa solves their goaltending help situation. Philly gets to move into the top 10 and gets a good defenseman to work with for the future. Like I said, there could be other pieces. I don't know that it's all just like that. The Philly would have to give up something else to go to Ottawa for that pick swap, and Boston would have to give up something else for the money. So like I said, maybe Frederic, maybe Frost, maybe there's something else in there. Hard to say exactly, but some other pieces to kind of make that all kind of even out. To me, that makes a ton of sense, but that's just me. Let me know what you think. Is 3-team trade going to be what comes out of all these talks between these three clubs? Or are we going to maybe see separate deals between Boston, Ottawa, Philly, Ottawa, and maybe some of these pieces like Couturier stay put? Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.